that we saw in the last couple of hours. Well, I'm joined now by Miri, a retired colonel for Israel Defence Forces and senior fellow now at the International Institute for Counterterrorism at Reichman University. Thank you for being with us. Everyone, of course, is waiting to see the Israeli strategy unfold. What is your expectation? What are the Israeli options now?
It's Friday morning right now around the world, and it's noontime, I think, in London. And here we're in the middle of a Jewish holiday, which has started on Wednesday night. It's the Jewish New Year. And I just want to remind everybody, I'm Israeli, I'm sitting at home. And when you ask about tactics and strategy, I'm not holding inside my house a cruise missile, anti-tank guided missiles. I'm not holding in my children's room rockets. And I urge people to go and see what the IDF has exposed directly across the border inside Lebanon, in people's houses, in tunnels, just like in the Gaza Strip, underneath the houses in southern Lebanon. So when we talk about the immediate tactic, it's not just to expose that to the world. It's to make sure that the type of force, which is inspired by Khamenei, who just said that October 7th was a legitimate act. I mean, I would just put that on and reel right now, time and time again. And the Radwan Hezbollah forces were training extensively for years to do an October 7 type attack. And the Israeli actions on the ground right now are to get to those weapons, capabilities, the motorcycles, the pickup trucks, the paragliders, and all of the different weapons like Hamas used on October 7th, but times 10 because Hezbollah is directly supplied by the Islamic regime. That's what I see right now as the tactic. You have to go in and destroy that so that the 70,000 Israelis who have not been in their homes since October 8th up north, that Hezbollah has targeted their homes. I mean, just to remind us, Hezbollah has fired 10,000 rockets into Israel in the last 11 and a half months. This didn't start 3 weeks ago. We've
seen in the last few hours targeting of this border crossing, the Masna border crossing. What is the military significance of that? Are there more crossings that you would estimate would be targeted in a similar way? And we've also heard, of course, some concern from some aid agencies that that is a route for people to flee the country and also for aid to be delivered into Lebanon.
My heart goes out to all of the uninvolved civilians, and you and I probably would not have inside our house, as I described before, weapons and arsenals. And what Israel is trying to do is to get to those in the different places. Hezbollah, backed by and supplied by the Islamic regime and in cahoots with Bashar al-Assad's Syria, they're all in that axis of resistance, as they call it. The weaponry comes in either by land via Iran, through Iraq, through Syria, to the border crossings. Hezbollah's big arsenals are both in the Bekaa Valley, right next to those crossings, down in those Shiite villages. And as I say, my heart goes out to the uninvolved civilians. Look at what Israel has done, and that doesn't make the war any easier. We're trying to save people's lives, get away from the place where you know that there are weapons, where you know that they're planning an attack, and telling them to leave. It isn't about occupying that land. It's to distance them from those weapon caches. The crossing point in Lebanon was both above ground. Israel eliminated also, and we've said so openly, the commander of the Hezbollah commander of the unit that was the liaison between the Al-Quds Revolutionary Guard unit that was supplying the weapons. Those weapons go through freely. Nobody stops them. I don't expect border crossings to have weapons going through, again, to Hezbollah. This is not Lebanon, the Lebanese army or the Lebanese government. It's Hezbollah, this non-state terror army that is really one of the strongest terror armies with this enormous arsenal. So we were targeting those both above ground, by the way, and underground. Hezbollah was building an underground 3.5 kilometer underground system to get those weapons into Lebanon as well.
Is Israel trying to increase the buffer zone when it is asking people to leave, further north than had been previously expected on that border zone?
Israel never called this a buffer zone. It's been, I don't mean to be rude about that. All we said is that it's limited in scope. The idea is to destroy the weaponry that's there, that I'll remind you all, United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon is there, some Lebanese army is there, and yet there are these enormous cache of weapons underground, subterranean. So it's not to create a buffer zone. It's to destroy the capabilities of the Hezbollah Radwan forces to be able to do on October 7th. And you and I just listened to Khamenei say that October October 7th was a just, legitimate act of the Palestinians, of Hamas. I can't accept that. And as such, no, I don't think that that's bigger than a buffer zone. I think it's trying to tell people to save their lives, not to be in a house that has cruise missiles, ATGMs, UAVs, and suicide drones. You and I would not have that in our house.
Miri Eisen, retired colonel for the IDF, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Shana Tova.
Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.